was you all along.
Okay, this is it.
You led them right
It's my
to
big
it.
fight scene coming up.
Go ahead. Try it. I'm fighting for every man.
Before I even get to the topic of the video, I wanted to have a slight rant with all of you about a movie that I saw this weekend. Shakuntala, directed by Gunasekar, is a Telugu film based on the chapter of Mahabharata that focuses on the relationship between Shakuntala and Dushyant. I went in thinking that a rendition of an old epic would be marvelous to see on the big screen, and while the trailer promised very little with respect to its lackluster special effects and TV serial-like emotions, I still went in with the hope that at least the screenplay would hold together. While being a huge admirer of Samantha, her tenacity and her work, I realized that even the most die-hard Samantha fan will find it tough to sit through this slog of a film. The movie is so tiresome, banal and outdated in its storytelling that it really tests your patience, making you think also, if Gunasekar is past his prime, a creator who was killing it once in the mid-2000s. I can still give credit to the director for his aspiration of making this epic a reality, but its screenplay is literally like sitting through a boring Spick McKay performance in school. One sits in the assembly hoping for something new and exciting, but it's the most generic in expressing one's art form. The only takeaway I have from Shakuntala is that the character portrayed by Aditi Balan narrates stories from the epic that transition to animated shots, which could easily translate into a compelling comic book read. The only inventive and interesting aspect of the otherwise boring, amateur cinematography and choppily edited film. Most of the forests are artificial sets and the CGI borders on being laughable, often looking like an Indian TV serial budget. The storyline does not grip you enough for you to crave for the union between the two leads, and the music further slows down any form of emotional investment you had in the film. The action itself is so haphazardly shot and edited that even the battle sequences come across as unintentionally funny, also making you conclude that this movie had no business being in 3D. Other than educating children about the epic and a cute cameo by Allu Arjun's daughter, this movie can really make you fall asleep, making me think it's so essential for creators to make these iconic epics contemporary in the way that they are showcased, rather than expecting the audience to lap it up just because of the revered nature and the position the text holds. The real question about the film is, how does Prakash Raj manage to feature in almost every film? Now that I got the slight rant out of my system regarding Shakuntala, I was recently speaking to Raunaq, a fellow creator who did videos on Indian movie flops that went on to become cult classics. I'm going to put his video in the description box if you want to check them out, and a leaf out of the same book, I wanted to focus on some of the biggest Bollywood projects and why they specifically failed at the box office. These are movies that came with huge expectations for the creators and actors associated with the films, but the movies tanked horribly, so let's get to it. And you also do chime in with your 2 cents about why you feel these movies faltered so badly. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with 5 shocking star-led Bollywood flops and why they failed so miserably. Tube Light. After the massive success of Bajrangi Bhaijaan and Sultan, audiences were curious about Salman Khan's next move, and people were hopeful when it was announced that he is going to collaborate with Kabir Khan to tell a heartfelt tale, an adaptation of the 2015 film Little Boy. While the movie showcased a sincere Salman trying his best to make us empathize with the naivety and purity of Lakshman Singh Bisht, the storyline of loving brothers persevering through adversity just did not connect with the Indian audience. The Indo-Sino War, the distance and longing for the brothers' return, the friendship with the Assamese mother and son, the faith of moving mountains, an uninspiring cameo of a magician played by Shahrukh Khan, it all just did not combine together to be an emotional or inspiring tale that one could talk about for years to come.
ईद रिलीज है, सो वो जो एक आते रहा है, एक के चिल्लर फेंकेंगे, नाचेंगे, गाएंगे, वो कोई और फिल्म देखने को गए और उनको कोई और फिल्म देखने को मिल गई है. सो नाउ दिस फिल्म needs to be seen not with लौंडे लपाड़ेस, not with buddies, कि आओ चलो उधम मचाते हैं, क्योंकि वो उधम मचा नहीं पाएंगे इस फिल्म के अंदर. It's a very emotional film.
One of the major reasons that people attribute to the failing of Tube Light is actually fans of Salman Khan being disappointed that the actor was being showcased as a physically weak and intellectually stagnant character. Usually Salman Khan movies present him as the alpha male, taking charge of every situation, no matter what the intensity or level of hardship that needs dealing with. But in this film, he was timid, underconfident, and a pushover, making mass India, who loves Salman's larger-than-life roles, immediately disconnect with the film and the route it was taking. The film provides another commentary on the conditioning of the film audience and how stars feel compelled to only work within the confines of certain boxes. Kites. Hrithik Roshan, post the commercial success of Dhoom 2 and Jodha Akbar, was going to feature in an adventure romantic action film titled Kites, which would be directed by Anurag Basu. The movie, through the trailer, boasted of stunning visuals, some melodious music, and a fresh pairing that was doing international interviews during its press tour. There was an inkling that the movie would really grasp the international audience as well, for the locations it is set in and the majority of its dialogues being communicated in English and Spanish. This was a huge risk, but still seemed compelling, but despite the huge investment in the budget and marketing of the film, the movie failed at the box office, making people wonder what exactly went wrong with this Hrithik Roshan and Babra Mori starrer. A lot of people equated to, as I mentioned, most of its running time being aided by non-Hindi dialogues, including both English and Spanish being aided by Hindi subtitles, was something audiences were not accustomed to. What a lot of people also equate to Kite's failing is its marketing. A couple on the run was presented to be included in several action set pieces, but those were few and far between. This was the age where mass action entertainers like Dabangg and Wanted were working, and Kites offered a far too international aesthetic to what people were celebrating in India. The biggest reason why people equate to Kites not working is its heartbreaking ending that people just could not stomach, which in retrospect I personally loved.
There were Robin Bhatt, Rakesh Roshan, Akash Lord, there were a lot of writers involved. So it was not my decision. Everybody was sitting there taking that decision, and some people work like that. And a lot of films are made like that, where 4 or 5 people come and discuss and brainstorm and shape the film. So this is how the film was shaped. तो ये ना वहाँ की रही ना यहाँ की रही, ना गाँव में पहुँचा ना हॉलीवुड पहुँचा, ये कुछ बीच का रह गया.
I wonder if Kites with certain changes would release in this day and age, whether there would be an appreciation for the same or not. Kalank. One would think that a period epic with a star cast as diverse as talented as this project would reap the benefits of becoming an instant hit with audiences. To top it even further, you've got a beautiful music album and top-notch cinematography and production design. One really anticipated with the intense marketing and promotions for the film that this will be a big hit in theaters. But sadly, the movie seemed to be confused on not only what it wanted to portray but also the timeline in which it was set. The story was conceived 18 years ago and was Yash Johar's dream. Somehow, many people believe it just did not translate many years later to the language and form in which audiences consume content today.
I think we based it in a time that was a sensitive time, and I think we didn't give it that sensitivity that we should have. I think that we gave the film too much color, too much opulence, and too much brightness for the time that it was based in. And I completely take accountability for the failure of that film.
The 3-hour running time and a boring narrative really tested the patience of the audience, and what really stuck out for people was the merry and celebration that was showcased from a chapter of history where India was under British rule, almost in a cocoon of sorts that took away from the film being a period piece. The Sanjay Dutt and Madhuri Dixit angle eventually became messy, and the perils of partition seemed too glossy, almost convenient versus necessary in the screenplay. Not to forget, sharing the release date with Avengers Endgame is really battling with the toughest boss that you could think of. The unanimous perspective, however, most people have is that the narrative was simply boring, and such technical detailing missing the mark from a storyline perspective really left a blow on the production company. Jagga Jasoos. One of the Bollywood films that holds a special place in my heart is Jagga Jasoos, directed by Anurag Basu and starring Ranbir Kapoor and Katrina Kaif in lead roles. An adventure film about a budding detective and his missing father accounted for one of the most beautifully shot films and an exceptional music album. The movie was plagued by several delays and production hassles. The movie was entirely shot in rhyme, had a stammering protagonist where the dialogues were communicated through music. The narrative shifts genres from being a coming-of-age, a family drama to an investigative thriller with many action set pieces across continents. And like what happens with most Anurag Basu films, the creator falls in love with the world created, so much that the running time stretches and takes away from what made the initial journey so captivating.
It took too long actually. मुझे लगता है 1 साल एक्स्ट्रा लग गया. मतलब और 1 साल पहले हम लोग कर सकते थे. I could have requested and I could have put my foot down and said, Ranbir, don't do these films, because he did Bombay Velvet, Roy, Besharam, Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. Shooting 4 films and promoting 4 films during the making of it. I could have put my foot down, he would have agreed. But then Pritam also wanted time to make music. So I didn't know where to balance here.
I still stand by loving this film and the lost potential we had in creating a franchise out of this. It still will go down as one of the most ambitious projects that could have been so much more. Jab Harry Met Sejal. If someone told you that Shahrukh Khan is going to collaborate with Imtiaz Ali after Tamasha, you would think that it's a match made in heaven. Dilwale disappointed most Shahrukh Khan fans as the reunion between him and Kajol was in a film that could be best termed as embarrassing. This collaboration, packed with great music and a Sufi-like poetic narrative of Imtiaz, one thought that we could finally see Shahrukh in a romance set in the modern context well, but the movie turned out to be a mess from the word go. The awful creative decision to have Anushka Sharma sporting a jarring Gujarati accent, the comedy of errors on the journey together, the paper-thin plot, the origin story of Shahrukh Khan barely being explored and only being partially referenced. It was probably the least nuance that existed in an Imtiaz Ali movie, and people were left so disappointed in the end product.
So there's a guy in Punjab and he has to leave because of some problem, and then he comes here and his girlfriend. So that backstory was not represented at all. It was just going to come through in the performance, and that too indirectly. Similarly for Sejal. The fact that she's lost her ring and there's a fiancé and blah blah blah, there's a lot of backstory. But I thought that it would be more fun to just see the surface and imagine the backstory. But for that, you need to bake it even more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I while talking to you as well, I realized that I should have allowed that to happen.
I understand that Shahrukh Khan acknowledges that the time has passed where he could do romance, but a more mature romantic film with a co-star like Tabu is still something I dream about. And I hope the old Imtiaz Ali also returns with his future projects, because I do think that we've lost him in the process of the projects that we've seen in the last few years. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below why you think some of these movies failed at the box office. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.